welcome everyone. Welcome to the podcast of handballexpert.com. As you can hear it, this is going to be a bit of a special episode in our series of podcasts that we have started this year. In all of the previous episodes, we've spoken Hungarian as we're from Hungary, but this time around we have a guest from the international scene. We have Kim Rasmussen here, Champions League winner with Bucuresti, two times fourth in the World Championships with the Polish squad, and Asian Championships winner with the South Korean national team. I think those who are listening to us know the name and know the most important results. But I'm curious, Kim, since the last, say, month, 2 months, we haven't heard much of you. So the first question is obviously, where are you right now? What are you doing right now?
Hello, and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to join the podcast. I will do my best. Unfortunately, not in Hungarian, but I still actually know some Hungarian. Something stuck there, but I think it's better for everyone we keep it in English. But yeah, I'm home in Denmark with my family, with my friends, recharging, we can say, batteries. Enjoying my loved ones, my kids, like it always is, and it's very important. So I'm home relaxing, trying to figure out what my next step will be. If it's in handball, outside handball, if it's coaching, if it's something else, I am really looking and searching what maybe is my next step. Yeah, just at home, enjoying everyone that is close to me.
Nice. And that leads me to my next question. What would be the job offer that would make you jump on the plane tomorrow and say yes immediately?
I
Without
think,
naming clubs, without naming countries, if you want,
yeah,
you know.
exactly. That's been my strength, but maybe also my weakness. That is that I say yes to almost everything because I believe that it's better to try and then we can say fail or it doesn't succeed so good than never try. So it doesn't matter so much for me what it is exactly. I've been thinking about joining, see if I can join the men's market. So that is something that I'm really looking for, if it's possible to begin my journey a little on the men's market. But it can be many things. It can be a job from the top clubs. It can be job from lower clubs. No problem at all. It can be something with location also that can make the life easier and good. Um, what projects? It doesn't need to be a place where you have to win every single game. So I'm actually extremely open for my next adventure. I would like to be at a place where you can have a good dialogue with people you are working with. That you have an option to develop, to build, to communicate. And I think through dialogue and communication and working together, I think that always builds the strongest foundations. So that would be also one thing I would look at. So I'm ready to jump in any flight or any car to go to somewhere, but for sure, many aspects is always counting in as I always think about everything, pros and cons when I choose a job. Um, then it will be the same this next time, but it can be third division club. I don't really care if the people are the right one. Is that if the club has a place where I can see myself help and develop them, it doesn't matter for me what level. Um, as always, I'm kind of open for most things, searching and thinking a little how it is, but not everywhere and not everything. Recently, I said no to a job offer, actually on the men's side, but it was very far away from here, and that meant, for example, that I would be gone 10 months without seeing my family or anything. not having a chance to come home really. And that is actually something that I also value, to be able to see my kids just from time to time. But so very far away, that puts me kind of there for a too long period. I think my limit goes there.
Hmm. Understood. So any of the club managers that might listen to this, there's a coach on the market for you guys. But you have had, let's call it, a very diverse experience as a coach. If we look through your career, if I recall it correctly, you started with men's handball, then you went into female handball. You've been national team coach, you've been coaching clubs in the Champions League, not in the Champions League. You've been in Scandinavia, you've been in, let's call it, Central Eastern Europe, you've been coaching in Asia. What is it that made you make these decisions? Is it really what you said, the dialogue and the concept that you think you could pull through, or what is the driver for these choices? Because I don't think that there are too many coaches that have had this diverse experience in this time span.
No, I consider myself extremely lucky. I'm honored for all the opportunities I had. I'm humble, and I don't take anything for granted. Um, I've worked very, very hard to build up my career from the really bottom. Um, and I think every time I've like had an option for a job, it's like come on the right time where I said, okay, this could be interesting. It's also come with a lot of promises sometimes, and these promises are not kept, and that's maybe the most frustrating. Especially the more east you go, the less the words count what they say. You know, you can say something one day, and the next day you say something else there, and we can say, when I look back, that is some decisions I should not have been taken. But at the moment, when people are throwing roses at you and saying that don't worry, you have time, this is not the team that we want at this moment. We're gonna build. We know it's gonna be tough, but we will be there. Trust us and everything. Then you say, oh, okay, even though that it is maybe from outside uh, a job where you will say, okay, you can be home next week. Then my weakness is I trust people. In this, I believe in people, because otherwise, I don't think I could exist in this part of the world where most of my jobs has been. So I have always believed in the right. I always believe when someone says something, they keep their word. But I have learned the last couple of years that this is not true. So I learned some lessons. I will remember this, of course. Every lesson teaches you something, good and bad. I have made mistakes for sure, but who doesn't make mistake? So I'm in a business where, yeah, split decisions can decide jobs. Um, I know this, which is also why it's so important that the details are there, and that sometimes you are lucky, because you can lose a game with one goal, and it can be two decisive decisions in the last 30 seconds that does that, and then you lose your job. Um, if just one small detail would be different, then you would probably keep your job, and everything will be fine. So it's a fine line between everything, and this is what I have been craving. I've loved it. I've loved these kind of atmospheres. I love the pressure, which comes back to your question, why I keep taking these jobs that are different, because I love these opportunities. I'm lucky. I am so lucky. I have the opportunity to see South Korea, to see Korea, or to work in Romania or in Hungary, for example. I consider myself very lucky, and I will for sure regret if I said no. And that's one thing I always ask myself: are you gonna regret this in 5 years if you say no? And if my stomach tells me, yeah, you probably will, then I say, okay, let's go. Let's trust people. Let's do the job and get the lesson later. And lately, I have been getting a lot of lessons. But I have been coach for many years now, and 90% of the time it's been very, very good. I have not been going in and out of jobs. I have had the same job 8 years when I started my coaching career in the same club. I had 6 years in Poland. I had 4 years in Hungary. So yeah, there has been some turbulent years now, but I have had jobs where I've had my time to build something, and but yeah, lately it has been we can say some kind of a roller coaster, and I learned my lessons on the hard way.
And do you think that learning that lesson will translate into a different decision making right now? So are you more, how to say, cautious with your next steps, or you still think you're going to ask yourself the same questions about whether or not you would regret missing the opportunity?
That will always be my first question to myself. I think it's a very good question. It has given me very good things. It's also given me some slaps over the fingers, but I will for sure I will say no to something after these last couple of years. I have now learned where to stay away from.
Hmm.
Uh, that's not a guarantee that I will not stay get back in that place, but at this moment, something different will have to take me away from my home. And yes, I will say no to something because what time teach you is that words don't count in some regions of the world, and I need to try to avoid that, and I need to find a place where I can, together with the team and the club, try to develop everyone as good as possible.
In some parts, not only words, but also contracts don't really mean a thing, if I recall some events from 2019.
Yeah, in contracts, contracts are very different. I can say it like that. I've had a contract that didn't even fill out half a paper, and they kept their word in Montenegro. You and then I've had contracts that is like 22 pages with you cannot walk into the hall with the right foot first, then we can fire you. If you drink a beer after a training, we can fire you. If you do this, if you do that, if you this, if your parents get sick, we can fire you. If you get sick more than 2 weeks, we can fire you. So there are a lot of small articles in all contracts, and some people try to look for the easy way out and doesn't respect or honor the contract. From my side, I can say that most of the times, the people I've worked with have honored the contracts, and this is what I think they should. Why not? Because why then we have the contracts?
Yeah.
Why sign a contract if what we put on paper is not valid? And yes, there was something in 2000. It became 2020 when it started, but yeah, uh, it was written in the contract very clearly, um, what what was what I what we can say termination deal we had. But as I said, there are many many small trigger points, fall groups we can call them, where the other part can always look at something, find something if they really want to. Unfortunately, they were trying to look for this, and first of all, they couldn't find what they looked for, but then they tried to find something else, and then they succeeded. When you have some political power, I think in the end you will always beat the common man. So only one place I've had someone who didn't honor the contract. but it's a chapter of my life that is over now, and I moved on from that.
Let's look at it generally and also feed it back to what you have mentioned. Patience when it comes to building teams, whether clubs or national teams. I think you mentioned this as being sometimes an issue, no patience towards building a team and the coaching staff. I think in your case, we do see some examples where, from the external perspective, it seemed hard to explain why that patience ran out from the leader's perspective. What do you think in general about this topic? What should change? Is it purely a cultural thing? Is it better in some countries than in the other, or is there something else around this concept, patience, and allowing time for coaches to build teams?
I don't think we have enough time in the podcast to give you all my thoughts on this. In generally, the Polish national team, they had patience. Uh, it took uh, it took around almost 2 years before we had our first huge result. Uh, and the rest is history, we can say. In Hungary, they had also very good patience because we expected more, but we had so many injuries of the players that has been dominating the Hungarian national team um, throughout many years, and they were injured or pregnant when I stepped in the door. So I had to kind of build something completely new from the ground. I needed to find young players, but I always believe in also experience. And we didn't get the results like we hoped for in the first 2 years. We were not so lucky, I think, in some aspects, especially in this. I talk about the 2017 World Championship in Germany, where we play a mixed group, not mixed so much, but we were trashed by Norway in the first game. Norway, they were just, yeah, they were killing everybody. We played some good games against Poland and Czech, and we won the games. And with Sweden, they were also very strong at that moment. We did not, but we managed to qualify for the last 16. I think it was, and we end up with France. And the only reason we end up with France was because they were sleeping in the first game of the group stage, so they lost to Slovenia. And and we were playing better and better in that championship. And we played a good game with France.
I remember
Uh,
it was 29-26, if I recall it, or something
yes,
along those lines, three goals.
exactly. And if they would have just done their normal job, then we would have faced up against Slovenia. And I think our shape at that time would be a lot stronger. Chances would be better. And then we would be in a quarterfinal, and everything can happen in a quarterfinal in the World Championship. But France, they were too strong for everybody. They were world champions in 2017. So I'm not sitting and finding excuses, but we were also missing a little of the luck with Hungary.
Mhm.
Then maybe we found the luck in 18. In 18, we had an amazing championship, I think, in France with a lot of young players. I don't think anyone could have expected anything from us, but we had the small luck on our side in that championship. And that championship qualified us for our main goal, for the qualification of Olympic Games. So even, it was not exactly what we all hoped for from the beginning, due to so many different things. We ended up with the result anyway. And yeah, we played very, very good in 2018. Also in half of 2019, we played extremely good. And then just in Japan, yeah, we just didn't find our top level. And yeah, we all know the history with Hungary. Last second penalty. Uh, I will still until today say that we felt. I can say it like that. Then I cannot get in trouble. it felt like that something was not correct, and it felt like really that this victory against Romania was taken away from us. That's the feeling we had.
Mm.
What happened? That's up to everyone else to decide. But so the year before we score in the last seconds to win the close game. In 19, we have one goal against us, and then yeah, you're out. Um, so yeah, I think patience is was respected. I think in Hungary, for sure it was in Poland, and I got my results as I should. Except in 19, we were very disappointed. But we were also meeting France in the Presidents Cup. They didn't panic, and the next year they were European champions. So that's also about the patience. That's about the dialogue that, especially over the last couple of years in the club jobs I've had, I have been missing. I've been missing
Mhm.
that patience, that dialogue. We can say Hungary ran out of patience and got scared. France didn't. Next year they succeeded on top. They were gold winners again. And I think the rest of Hungary's history from 2019 until now, I don't think too many in Hungary likes to speak about how it's been. Um, so yeah, sometimes drastic decisions, and especially here the last couple of jobs in Romania, it's been with no patience, with no understanding that sport is up and down, and too big ears, and apparently the brain can disappear. But in some parts of the world, um, there are always wolves walking around, and the wolves are waiting for weaknesses. They are waiting for some little weakness, and then they will attack. And this is how it often happens there, that you have people around, and they are waiting for that little slip up. And if the leaders of these places are not strong enough, then they will listen to too many voices. When you start listening to too many voices, you will get confused. And this is what happens too many times, especially when you go to some cultures. And yeah, this is why we are sitting here and talking. That sometimes I get good patience. Usually, I get my result done. The statistics shows that. And when the patience is very little, then I don't have time to build. I don't have time to make the changes and to work with the players to find the best way to get the results. And yeah, then there's no space for one lost game.
Very interesting thoughts and quite a few points that I could reflect on. But again, conscious of time, let me just take one point here. You mentioned something like not too many people should like to talk about what has happened in Hungary since 2019 in terms of results. And I think the results, you're right, speak for themselves. But you also know probably, and I'm pretty sure you remember that the sport here in Hungary of handball is very popular. So people do like to speak about this, and there is one topic that I'm really curious to hear your opinion about, and that's the other thing that you have mentioned, and these are the young players and building in young players to the Hungarian squad. This has been a major topic for the past, let's call it 5 years. And you were the national team coach when you started building some of those players into the squad. And the expectation around the sport was that this generation, plus the coming one or two generations, will take Hungary back to, the golden ages and lift us to the podium. And I think the parallel that you have drawn with France is an interesting one because, as you said, it's very similar results in 2018, 2019, and still very different trajectory afterwards. How do you see young players in Hungary in the past 5 years and the national team not reaching that potential that we thought was going to be there?
Oh yeah. I think if you really look back in many of my interviews while I was still the coach in Hungary, I said again and again that youth team and senior handball are two different things. It is the same as men and women's handball. They are two different things. You cannot put up them to play against each other. The men will win with 20 goals minimum. It is the same with junior. Uh, there is no team or no country who will ever have success if you only look at young players. Um, and I think that Hungary, I think they have such a huge amount of talent. It is unbelievable, maybe the best in the world. They just create individually amazing talents. Um, they create a lot of the same kind of players. That's maybe the weakness of Hungary, that there's no diversity. There's no little different. We have one, like you have one little different now, this Albeck on the right back. She's a
Hmm.
little different. She's a little different than the general, we can say, Hungarian style of handball player.
But
But
she has
Hungary,
spent, but sorry, she has spent quite a lot of years in abroad. Maybe that's the
yes,
reason.
maybe because she was different, that she didn't fit in the fast playing Hungarian youth handball. But slowly she's beginning to do that. Because someone is working with her physically very good, I think at the moment. I've seen a huge improvement for her. But that's to get back. Hungary has the best talents, I think, in the world, and they have so many to choose from. Um, I started taking in players that I believed had one or two things that could be good, that could be used on this team, and slowly build them for the future. I think I also said many times that you have to be careful not to carry these young players up too fast. They need to work for their success. They need to learn what hard works mean. And when you are 18 and has played 60 minutes every single game since you were 12 years old because you were very good, then you have never tried real hard work, and you have not tried when things are not going your way. And it takes time for these young players to find out that life is hard, and the real handball on senior level is not a joke. It is not for weak souls. You need to be strong mentally. You need to be strong physically, and you need to learn about yourself. And this takes time. Um, so I think for me, always it's important to have the combination. I have heard that you are still talking about that you have a young Hungarian team now. But come on, the players that are playing now, I had 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I was using these players. No one was talking to me about oh, Kim, you are taking the young players. You just focused on the results. And now, 5 years later, they are still young. Uh, uh, Vamos Petra, the line players. Kluiber was also, it was only a matter of time before Kluiber would be the absolute number one on the right back, and she deserves that. Um, so um, I started with all these young players, and I don't think that they are young anymore. I think that they have their limits. Some of them, they are amazing handball players, but I think you see that you need a mix of youth and experience. You need a mix of different personalities. You need a mix of different sizes also. You need, because handball is physically, so you need to find, your base, your foundation, and from that you can mix things. But right now you have a group of Hungarian players. Most of them are around the same age, so I think that's one of the reasons that Hungary will have a tough time. I think they do have some possibilities to build something, but they need some experience also in this team. But the talents are amazing. They have won so many medals the last 6 years, but 16 or 15 years before the Hungary started winning, the Danish women youth teams were crushing all medals for 15 years. And still the senior team had almost 10 years with only one bronze medal. So because you are good at youth doesn't mean that you will win something. I think stability, I think to build a foundation, I think to not change the coach every second year or every year on the national teams, I believe that is the way forward. I think if you look at the teams that had the most continuously success, those are the ones that have had the same coaches, the same kind of way of developing. They have had good communications in the federations between the coaches and federation. They have not been panicking over a bad or two bad years. They have every time they took a step down, they made sure they came back 2 or 3 levels better. And this is Norway, France, Russia also when they were playing, Denmark, Sweden. Even there were some times where they were not exactly where they wanted to be. They kept calm. They kept working together. And you can see they keep being there. And as long as you keep changing, as long as you keep focusing only on the results, you will end up losing to these countries 9 out of 10 times when things matter. And I think that's one of the problems in the Central Eastern Europe, that there's no interest in really looking 2, 3, 4, 5 years ahead with a good plan. I think they are very focused on the result now, because now they are there. They don't know if they will be there in the federation the next year. The coaches don't know if they will be there the next year. So everybody is working actually right now just for themselves. And it gives just an unstable environment. It creates stress. And when you are stressed, you will make more bad decisions when you are faced with challenges during the game or in the office if you have lost the game. So stability and long-term planning, I think is the right way to do it. But the talents in Hungary are second to none, I would say. But you cannot win any medals with a team full of players under 24 years old. I think Norway and France are the best example of that. Even Henny Reisted now, I think she was maybe the best player in the world last year, and she was not even starting on the Norwegian national team. I think she would start on almost all other national teams. But Norway are building up slowly. They are making sure that the younger talents, they are brought in slowly, because then when they reach the age of 24, 25, they will have 6, 7, 8 good years where they will keep winning medals for Norway. And if you look back, you will actually see that also Oftedal, Nora Mørk, and that group of players, they took over the national team around when they were 24, 25. And now they have been there for 8, 9, 10 years. Maybe they are also getting older now. And now Henny Reisted is there to take over, and a few others are there to begin to take over. So I think in Hungary's case, I think they rush things. I think they put too much pressure on the young players. They expected, now we are world champions of under 19. Wow, we will be world champions in 2 years. And I think that's maybe the biggest mistake that has been made, because that's not possible. So to make a long-term plan with all these talents and give it patience, and then I think that there's an option. But yeah, who am I to know? I believed I didn't have the huge success in Hungary like we all hoped for. I think there are always reasons for why that didn't happen. In the end, we got the kind of result that we wanted to play for Olympic Games. On top of that, a lot of young players came in. I found some good talents that actually now are dominating the national team. So. Yeah, I believe actually that if they wouldn't have panicked, I believe that we could have had another 4 good years, and I think we would have seen. I believe that I would seen a more consistent Hungarian national team in the top eight, constantly fighting also for semifinals, because we were building something continuously. Also, together with the federation were really open for dialogue in my beginning and all that. So yeah, a few bad words, a big mistake from my side, created panic, and the rest is history.
It's interesting you closed your thoughts with the cooperation because that's also what I wanted to ask you about. The topic of cooperation in Hungary around the national team is also a big one, and I think it goes way longer than your tenure. I think it's been a topic since the mid 2000s that the cooperation and the communication between the federation, the clubs, and the national team as an institution has to be streamlined, has to be better. What was your experience when you were here in Hungary? And then I promise this is the last one about Hungary. We'll move on to
No, no,
something.
no, no. I don't mind speaking about Hungary. Was some of the best years in my career and my life. And I miss it a lot. I really do. I love that job. I love working with the federation. I love working with the girls. Um, so I have nothing bad to put. So I like to speak about it. Um, I see the biggest challenge, we can call it like that, in Hungary is that the board is full of like 20 people, 25 people that all knows handball the best. They are all former national team coaches or former top world class players. And they all know handball. They all have an opinion about handball. But when you put 25 people around the table and want to work in one direction, it's mission impossible. And as a foreigner, you will always have enemies. No matter where you go, no matter how good you do, you will always have someone that doesn't like that you are there because you are a foreigner, because you are taking the job of some local that they even think that you come there and want to show them how bad a job they did, and they couldn't be more wrong. I come in, oh, for example, when I came to Hungary, I came in, oh, I want to learn about this handball culture. I want to learn, but I also have some ideas, and I come from a culture where maybe together we can create something good. Um, I think the federation I had a very good dialogue with them, but I had people there that didn't like me there. You will always have these persons. Too many mouths gives too many ears, and if everyone needs to be heard, it's just it's just going to be impossible, because no matter who you put at the national team coach in Hungary, someone will want another one to be there. And I think also that's one of the main things. If we look at the federations that have continuously success, there are one or two persons who are in charge of the national teams. One or two. Here we have an entire board plus a lot of others who has opinion about who should be there or not. And that just creates, again, a stressful environment for everyone. And yeah, the facts and the results show, my point. And no matter how good cooperation I had, there were always someone ready with the knife. The second something happened, they were just ready. And when things don't go well, then the leaders, they begin to, okay, maybe it's not so good, maybe we can do better. And then they are listening to the two or three or four persons that don't like that coach at that moment, I'm sure the coaches after me also had their people there that didn't like them there. Um, and in the end, you change coach every second year, and it just gives stressful and hard and difficult environments to work in for everybody. So I think that they should cut down on the amount of people that have influence on who is doing what and why, and find one or two persons and take care of it.
Interesting how objective and positive you are, because recently there has been a few interesting communication channels opened by the federation. And I don't know if you are aware, but quite recently, I think about 2 weeks ago, Katalin Palinger went on to the federation's own podcast, which is brand new. And she explained that she saw a massive change in your personality during your stay. And she claims that you put yourself above the team and you thought you were more important than the national team. And this is what led to the bad results and the failure in 2019. Do you have anything to say about this?
Well, I think history says that I was not above the team. I was actually defending my players after the loss to Romania. I took the blame. I didn't blame the players. I I was protecting the players, so I don't think that I was above the team. I don't agree on this. But yeah, that's not my job to agree or disagree. But to say that I was more important than the team is, I think, wrong. I always protected my players. I always took the responsibility. I never blamed them for anything. Uh, so I think if I were above them, my first response would be that the players failed and everyone else failed. But I took responsibility and said that this was on me. So I don't know why she says that, but what to say? That's her opinion. I have another opinion.
Interesting enough, we're going to have in 2 weeks the World Championships, and there's a much anticipated game between Hungary and Montenegro coming up potentially. And you have been the national team coach of both of these nations. What are your expectations for the upcoming World Championships? Who do you think is going to succeed, and who are you expecting to deliver some good performances here?
Denmark and France again will dominate, and Norway, of course. Those three countries will dominate everything. The rest are far behind these countries, as I see it. Sweden is always a good collective. They they find a way always to be there through their team spirit and their way of playing the handball together. And then we will see who will join them. Holland is strong, but also they will be just outside the others. I think, but Holland and Sweden are very close, and then the rest is up to what kind of shape do they come into the championship with. I don't have big expectations for the Hungarian team. Unfortunately, they are talented, they are good. If things start working, then they can beat many countries with their very aggressive playing style. But I think they will have challenges in their defense, and I think against the best teams, they will have problems with that. So a good Hungarian team, but I don't see them dominating this championship, unfortunately.
Anything on Montenegro? Because I think it's also at least from an external perspective, it was one of the most interesting proceedings in the last couple of years in handball, how you took the Montenegrin national team, went to the Olympic qualification tournament, which had like this horror group. It was, what was it? Norway, Romania, and Montenegro, right?
Yeah.
And I would say against all odds, Montenegro qualified for the Olympics. And yet you were not the national team coach at the Olympics.
Ah, uh, I was up against bigger forces there, we can say. So not even Olympic qualification could make me stay there. So there were bigger forces in play, and there was some politic in behind, and that's just how it is. I was not surprised, and I'm fine about Montenegro. I think Montenegro will also have a tough time because their absolute key player is Jaukovic, and she's out. She is, in my opinion, one of the absolute best defense players in the world, and she's just a physical weapon in the offense. So I think that missing her is too big a challenge for Montenegro. So they will be in the middle. They have a lot of passion. They will play with extreme passion. They will be screaming, fighting, biting, pulling, pushing. They will be smiling. They will, it's always a pleasure to see how they play with the emotions and everything. But I think in the long run, again, the real top teams they will have too much trouble with. So they will be in the middle, fighting with Serbia, Hungary, and those countries for who will take the positions between, we can say, 5 and to 12.
If you were to give us your prediction, Croatia, Montenegro, Hungary, and Sweden are on the same middle group or whatever it's called. The World Championships keeps changing as well. I think talking about a
Yeah.
lack of patience and strategy, the World Championships itself is also a good example of that. But this time around in the main round, we're expecting to see Croatia, Montenegro, and Hungary battle it out for what seems to be the crucial top 8 places. What would be your pick from these 3 teams?
Croatia, Hungary, and Montenegro. I will have to flip the coins. It's equal chance for everybody. Um, uh, if Blancabiro will have a good championship, Hungary has a chance to take a little step ahead, I think. But they will need her to be at her absolute best, just as good as she was against Jura here the other day, where she really was the maybe the main reason why Ferencvaros won. She was just saving so much. She will need to be at that level. Then I believe Hungary can do something because they have the individual skills and the speed to make it difficult for everybody. So if she can have a good championship, I believe Hungary have the individual speed and skills that they will be a step ahead of the others.
Thank you. A lot has been said about national teams, but you also had, as we said, a very diverse career, national teams and clubs. Um, what would be your preference right now? What would be the next job you want to take? Would you prefer to work for a national team or rather for a club?
I love working for national teams. There's no doubt. It's a different job, but I like the way it's shaped. I like how it is. I like the pressure that it can bring, especially the more handball happy countries you go to, the more talk, the more interest, and I like that. But at the same time, the daily job in a club is also something that when you are national team coach, you are missing that. You are missing that you are part of something every single day. So I love being a club coach. I love being national team coach. So I don't really have a preference to what I prefer now. I mentioned in the beginning that it's important for me uh, how I can work with the clubs or the federations, how we will work together because is up and down, and how will we work together to get the best out of the club or the federation and every player and every team. That will be my main, we can say, goal for my next adventure if I choose to go the handball way.
I think this is a very nice way to close our conversation for today. Kim, I thank you very much for joining us. And yeah, I do hope we're going to have another opportunity later to speak again. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.